Good morning and welcome to the Easter weekend Youth Reflection. My name is Denise Davis Taylor and I'm from St. Paul's United Church in Edmonton. Let us begin this morning by lighting the Christ candle. Once there was someone who said such amazing things and did such amazing things that people followed them. And they were always asking, "Who are you?" Once they said, "I am the light." People who love the light follow the light. I say Easter weekend because this weekend there are two big celebrations, the Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And in the Christian tradition, we celebrate both of those because they go together like two sides of a coin. Good Friday and Easter, and they can't really be separated. Otherwise, you lose so much. The Easter stories over the years have presented a bit of a problem for me. There are a lot of details and fantastic and unbelievable, frankly, for me, things that happened during those stories. So it was really helpful for me when I read a book called The Last Week, written by Marcus Borg and Dominic Crossan. In that book, they proposed that all of the stories from Palm Sunday through to all of the resurrection stories are one big parable. Now, as you know, parables have many ways into them. Every time you hear a parable, you will hear it differently. And parables have many things to teach us. Many learnings can come from one simple parable. So this big parable, as we're living through the COVID crisis, brings an opportunity for us to learn and hear the Easter stories in a whole new way. One thing that's important to remember about parables is not whether or not they actually happened the way they're told, but that all of the things that happened to Jesus and his disciples, the inconceivable and despicable things, as well as the amazing and wondrous things, are all a parable about life, about how we can come close to God or how we can be separated from God. Kate Florian has agreed to read highlights from Matthew chapter 27 this morning to remind you of some of the things that happened leading up to and including Jesus' death. As you listen to them, I'd like you to think about, what do these stories remind you of? Who in the world do these stories remind you of?
So when Pilate saw that he could not do anything, but rather that a riot was beginning, he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood. See it to yourselves." Then the people as the whole answered, "His blood be on us and on our children." So he released Barabbas for them. And after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole cohort around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on his head. Then they put a reed in his right hand and knelt before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." They spat on him and took the reed and struck him on the head. As they went out, they came upon a man from Cyrene named Simon. They compelled this man to carry his cross. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, which means place of a skull, they offered him wine to drink, mixed with gall. But when he tasted it, he would not drink it. And when they had crucified him, they divided his clothes among themselves by casting lots. Many women were also there, looking on from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee and provided for him. Among them were Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joseph, the mother of the sons of Zebedee.
In these stories you've just heard, there are some rather ugly sides of human life and how we treat each other. Mockery, humiliation, cruelty, taking the easy way out. Perhaps you've experienced some of these things, and maybe you've been a witness to or participated in them happening to someone else. These things happen to people in all walks of life, at all ages, in their homes, in their schools, in their workplaces, in their on the streets even. They are not right, and as Christians we're called to stop them or to prevent them from happening as best we can. These opposites, or binaries as we call them in the queer community, of either or, in Christian life we think of them as paradox. Parker J. Palmer, in his book On the Brink of Everything, talks about paradox this way. He says the opposites do not negate each other. They work together in cohabiting and co-creating in a very mysterious kind of unity. A paradox understands that the opposites need each other for health. A way of living this kind of love and suffering, maybe, would be listening to a friend or a stranger as they express their frustration and their anger or their sadness or their despair. For Jesus' friends, I think they might have struggled to tell the stories of their experiences of the resurrection, the new life, the transformation that they saw and felt in Jesus and in themselves. Zoe Nichols has agreed to read to us Matthew chapter 28.
The resurrection of Jesus. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus, who has been crucified. He is not here. He has been raised. As he said, come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee, and there you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly, with fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and they will see me then."
There's a lot of mystery in these stories around the resurrection at Easter. And it can take a whole lifetime to get your head wrapped around what it all means. This year, what stands out for me in the stories is how dramatically transformed these women's lives were in their experience of Jesus' resurrection. The awe and the wonder that they felt, even as they experienced the grief at the death of their friend and teacher. So at Easter, We Christians, we celebrate it all. We celebrate the mystery, and we celebrate the life and the death. And I know that you'll be celebrating this weekend too, in feasting and dancing, maybe even playing games and singing. And for me, one part of that is going to be eating chocolate. May the peace of Christ be with you always. May it flow through you and from you out to friend and stranger alike. Happy Easter, everyone. Christ is risen.